News on the Rat Island. What's the news on Rat Island?
Ready, everybody?
Are we good to go?
Rat Island news.
Not so much news?
It's got one more plug to it.
Yeah, I just got right
Any
here.
erosion?
Is that on?
New animal check?
It's live.
Just we will start in a minute, so everyone knows. But at least we're on.
It says we're live.
Like crabs and things like
Just
that.
everyone's aware that's live. We're just waiting for that, but that is
Live
live.
television,
So we'll
everyone.
start in just 2 seconds.
No cursing. Live television.
I mean, you can curse. I mean, it's more genuine probably if you do. I'm not gonna.
I just
wanna
watched
not get
Saturday
that.
Night Live, so
Yeah, we don't want
Feeling it.
We always try to keep respect here for everybody involved. So, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I want to thank everyone for coming out to the February meeting of City on Rising. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Doyle. I'm the president of our board. We also have David Diaz, who's on our board, Elisa Benedetto behind the camera on our board, Jeff Cunningham on our board, and a few other people who will be joining us as the meeting goes on. I want to thank everyone for coming out here today, and for those of us who are joining online, probably a little bit of an interesting view, I'm sure.
fine.
We're going to have our guests, our invited guests, come and present in a minute. I just wanted to go through everything that's going on in the community, give some brief updates before they start, and then after we'll have a whole presentation from Stanley Schlein and Jason Ortiz, and we will, after that, it'll be open for questions. What we're going to do a little differently this time is everyone's going to raise their hand. I'm going to bring the microphone over to you. The purpose for that is that some people will be watching online, and we want to make sure that your questions get heard. So that way we're not guessing what the question was, or because I do sometimes get questions afterwards about who said what. So just raise your hand, I'll come over. It'll be like Jerry Springer in a sense, but that will be the only way this meeting represents Jerry Springer, and we'll go from there. I just wanted to address everybody. First things first, we are fortunate as we have our ferry signs here today. So if you'd like to take a ferry sign on your way home, thank you. Big moves. And we're going to be having some additional stakeholder meetings with different members of elected officials and the city council. So we're going to be pushing on this. This was a student design from the local area who won a $200 gift certificate to the Black Well. And it was laid out by Christian Amato. Free of charge, so thank you, Christian. And this is a great way. Particularly, this is a year where people are going to be knocking on your door and asking for your support for things. So, without telling you who to support or what to support, we ask you to have this in your window. So, this is a great way to signify to people this is an issue that's important to you. Another thing that I wanted to point out to people is, as I always say, what did Robert Kennedy used to say? 10% of people against everything all the time. In this neighborhood, they're a little bit more than 10%, but they're not a majority. And the nice thing about this is, by having this in your window, it's a sign to your neighbors and your friends that you're supportive of this, that this is something that can happen, and that it helps build future support. And if you notice, there's a QR code right on here. It takes them to yescityislandferry.com, so they can sign the petition. They can contact their elected officials. There's a web form right on there. It goes to Councilmember Marmorato, Councilmember Farias, who's in charge of the Economic Development Committee, and Borough President Vanessa Gibson. And we're going to be adding to this. We're going to be adding where all our elected officials stand on this issue. There's going to be a new section of that page. There's going to also be on the petition and the web form and where the elected officials stand. It's going to be a place where you can sign up and get a copy. We'll literally deliver this to your door if you want. I know that 10 people have signed up.
Where is the ferry on that picture?
We will get to that in just 2 seconds. And there's also going to be, this is kind of our next step here beyond elected officials and everything else, is we're going to be doing a multimedia campaign. So if you have a story you want to tell about the ferry, email us at cityislandrising@gmail.com. We're going to be working with local film people, and we're going to be doing stories of people who would have their commutes cut in half. We're going to be doing stories of business owners on the island, and we've even got a few people who have moved off the island, younger people who grew up here, who will let us know that, if the ferry was here, they'd consider moving back. So we're going to be using all sorts of different ways of storytelling to get our message out there is what I'm trying to say.
Can I, one question?
Sure.
I just wonder how many people have actually taken the ferry from Ferry Point or from, you know.
Nice crowd.
Dozens and
It's
dozens.
very pleasant, right? It's a really
Yes.
nice ride.
Yeah.
Very small.
So, thank you for that, Paige. And without further ado, because we do have two invited guests here, I'm going to turn it over to Jason. Oh, Mr. Schlein. Here you go, sir. Stanley Schlein, who also lives on City Island. So let's let him and Jason Ortiz give the presentation, and then afterwards we'll open it up for questions. Okay? Stanley, take
Thank
it
you
away.
very much. Pleasure meeting everyone who I don't know, and those who I do know, pleasure seeing you all again. I represent Bally's, the casino entity, who is an international company. Bally's, for your information, took over the former Trump Golf Course at Ferry Point. We purchased and leased from them. We now own and operate it since September of 2023. And we're running it as a municipal golf course under the jurisdiction of New York City Parks Department. It is for the public, it's not a private course, and it's open even if you don't play golf during the season. They have wonderful luncheon and dinner opportunities. I don't know how many of you have been there. May I see possibly a show of hands of those who have been there? Not too many. Okay. Well, it is a most wonderful municipal facility. What we are proposing to do is to build an integrated resort at the golf course. Now, for background information, the governor of the state of New York signed a bill into law 2 years ago, in 2023, authorizing the designation of 3 new casinos for the state of New York south of the Tappan Zee Bridge. There are 11 applicants who have arisen and have put their names forward who want to be designated as the licensee. For brief, one is MGM at Yonkers, that's running that racino there. The other is the one running at Aqueduct Raceway now, which is also a racino. There is one applicant from Long Island who wants to do it at the Nassau County former Coliseum. 5 applicants for the borough of Manhattan at different locations, from Saks Fifth Avenue to the hole in the ground on the East River Drive to Times Square to Hudson Yards. There is one that Steve Cohen wants to do adjacent to the City Field operation for the Mets, and there is one for Coney Island plus ours. 3 are going to be designated, and the schedule is as follows. Applications have to be filed by June 27th of this year with a $1 million non-refundable deposit. The governor will make a decision through her site selection board by the end of December of this year or the beginning of January 26th. And between now and then, we, on behalf of Bally's, are going out and trying to socialize, present to our communities around here, from Throgs Neck to Ferry Point, to Pelham Parkway, to Pelham Bay, the Country Club, to City Island, why we would hope we can achieve support for this application. And so I want to go through the different components of this. Obviously, Doyle will pass the mic around, take questions afterward, but I'll do this step by step if I may. Why don't we go? This is the site. This is the picture of the golf course in red. It is the, in fact, entire golf course, and then you see the Hutchinson River Parkway in between, and the other side of that is the Ferry Point Park, where there is soccer and other sporting activities. The part in green is where we want to place the integrated resort. And why do I call it an integrated resort? It's not just a casino, but it'll provide for a 500-key hotel, a 2,000-seat theater, a spa, and dining areas. And that will be done on that area, which is 15.7 acres. None of the golf course is going to be disturbed. The golf course will remain intact. The only change will be the relocation of the practice pitching and putting area That's, before you play the game, people like to practice, and that'll be relocated on a different component of the golf course. All of that area is concrete right now. It is the concrete ribbon before the clubhouses themselves, and the parking area, which is all concrete pad, where I think if you ever see it, as you come over the Whitestone Bridge, where it used to have the Trump sign that has the Bally sign, the Bally sign is where the new clubhouse will be located. So that is the 15.7 acres for the location of these facilities that I just described. We take the position, and again, as a Bronx resident my whole life, still here, born here, raised here, will continue to be here, die here. I believe, why not the Bronx? And I am going to explain why. This is a shot coming from the Whitestone Bridge, across the bridge heading into the Bronx. You can see this cladded and green roof that we are doing. This is all environmentally sound. We're doing gold,
LEED certified.
gold LEED certified for the entire building. And that is try to blend in with the greenery of the facility, of the community. This is, okay. That is what we like to call the money shot in the evening on the river. And again, we are keeping the height of this much lower than the bridge. The bridge's height at maximum is 442 feet. We are, because we've listened to the community, keeping it down to 222 feet. So it would not be this interposing tower blocking everybody. We want honest listening tour, and that's what we were told by the community. Go ahead. This is Harding Avenue. This is the only place where you can conceivably see the buildings from the community. If you can see over here, that's green, those are existing trees. When this place, if we prevail on the license and build it, it won't open until 2030, end of 29, beginning of 2030. All those trees will be grown, and you will have no visual of the facility whatsoever from the community, again, which was requested by the people in Throgs Neck. There are certain land use actions that we have to take under the ULURP. Everyone understands ULURP here. We are in fact going to be before Community Board 10 on March 27th.
Yes, it's 22nd.
27th.
27th.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, before the Housing and Zoning Committee, and then again on March 20th before the February 27th.
Yeah, February 27th, March 20th.
And March 20th before the full Community Board for approval of our zoning application. We are going to seek a R8 district. And let me be abundantly clear what that means. It means under no circumstances ever under that zoning can you build housing. So people were concerned that we would build affordable housing there. If we don't prevail, we would turn the hotel into a shelter. None of that is legally possible. We're putting that in the zoning application. But again, we listen, that's what we've been told. And that's the zoning map amendment, city map amendment. And then we are seeking also, not before the community board, but before the state legislature, an alienation bill. And I want to spend a few minutes on that. Alienation means the right to purchase parkland property for a non-park use. All we are seeking to buy is that 15.7 acres, again, that concrete pad for the parking, and the clubhouse area. What we have to do is have a bill adopted by the state legislature in order to achieve that. If that bill is adopted, then we will be permitted to negotiate for the purchase of that 15.7 acres. I'm being redundant for a very particular reason. In order to buy it, we have to replace the value of that 15.7 acres with equivalent value in park improvements or new parkland. And we have done an economic study, we've submitted it to the city, they are currently reviewing it, and we have, our experts have told us that that parkland, that 15.7 acres, has a current market value of $100 million. Which means if the city agrees, and you know the city's not gonna say it's less, it's $100 million plus of parkland improvements that we will have to undertake and buy new land for devotion exclusively for park purposes. And the overwhelming majority of that expenditure will be in this community board district. Board 10, some in Board 9 and 11 around us, and those particular projects will be decided by the community board and our elected officials, meaning Assemblymember Michael Benedetto, Senator Natalia Fernandez, Councilmember Christy Marmorato. Bally's will not designate those projects. We're not the ones who are going to say what is best for the community. Community will make that decision collaboratively with the Parks Department. And we will put a contract together where we will put $100 million of escrow waiting for a decision on if we are obtaining a license. As I said before, the governor will make that decision, the site selection board will make that decision at the end of the year. If we do not get designated as a licensee, then we do not buy the property, the $100 million gets returned, Bally's continues to run the golf course. We have 11 and a half years left on the license with the city. Will we extend the license? That's up to the city in negotiations with us. But if we do not obtain the license, no alienation, no parkland improvements, and we move forward as we are today. Want to move to the next one?
Do you just want to quickly go over the CAC process?
Sure. If we obtain the alienation bill adopted and we go forward to file the application, we have to do what's called the CAC process, Community Affairs Council. That means there are 6 people on that council, representatives of 6 people. Representatives of the governor, the mayor, the senator, the assembly member, the council member, and the borough president. It requires 4 of the 6. It requires 4 of the 6 to approve our right to, in fact, file that application. So, or to be considered, rather, for our application to be considered. So that's another, I don't want to call it bump in the road, but another checks and balance in the road. And those meetings will probably occur in July, August of this year, after the application is filed. Okay. That's the same thing we just said. Okay. One of the lessons we have learned by meeting with the community, again, particularly the Throgsneck community and Ferry Point community, is that traffic is a mess in certain areas there, particularly around Lafayette Avenue, near Monsignor Scanlon, all over there. There would be no way for us to proffer this project if we don't deal with that. And so accordingly, we have discussed with the community and with the State Department of Transportation and the City Department of Transportation certain road improvements. The most significant is widening certain of these roads and putting another overpass over here, over Lafayette, so that no one has to drive through the community to get to the facility if we are licensed. Drive over, come down to the bottom, where Ring Road is as you go under the bridge, and that Ring Road will be substantially widened to about 60 feet. Removing, again, as it floods now, doing the flood barriers that exist. We will do a bike path there, sidewalk there, and the parking lane. So all of that in total costs about $75 million. Again, picked up by Bally's 100% of the cost of that will be paid for by Bally's. One more time, no license, no park no road improvements. It's just that, we'll be running a golf course. Of course, you won't have the necessity of all those activities. And by the way, the reason the hotel is a very significant component is this is a world-class golf course. We had a ladies PGA golf tournament there a year and a half ago. We are soliciting other major golf tournaments to be there. And in order to achieve that, a hotel really needs to be built to accommodate the media, to accommodate the golfers. We had an APGA tournament there last summer, and it was a fantastic event. So we hope that we will prevail in that regard alone. That's more of the road improvement picture, but I described it to you a few moments ago. That was more of the improvements. I want to talk about the economic development piece of this project. If we prevail, we will hire 15,000 construction workers to build out the project through a project labor agreement with all the unions. There will be a substantial amount of work in the construction trades from the Bronx community. We're negotiating with all the unions for that project labor agreement. You want to make some comments on that, please?
The memorandum of understanding with the building and construction trades has been signed, so there will be a project labor agreement. Exactly how many jobs from each trade is going to be negotiated if we wind up getting the license. But it is going to be wall-to-wall union built and union operated facility.
And the operated component is 3,500 to 4,000 full-time jobs. Again, overwhelming from the Bronx, overwhelming from Community Board 10 area. That will be our first tranche to solicit jobs. The Bronx, everyone says the Bronx is the lowest mean income community in the state of New York. Average mean income, believe it or not, is $27,000, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. A job in the casino, a full-time job, pays, if you were a dealer or a hotel waitress, you'd be represented by the Hotel Trades Council. The average salary is $110,000 to $120,000 without benefits. Without benefits, and it is a full benefited job, meaning by that medical, IRA, dental, legal services, pharmaceutical, again, as we said, wall-to-wall employment. I make a jocular comment. I'm 77 years old, and I'm not going to be doing this much longer, but I am looking for a job there. The lowest paid job there will be a dishwasher in the hotel. Starting salary, by the time it opens, will be $80,000.
Stanley, that was my question. They have jobs for retired attorneys.
Yes, that's right. You and
I'm
I.
ready to deal cards, thank you.
Yes.
So, you say the first tranche of,
Let's give him the mic. Just, we want to get everybody on the video, so.
the first tranche of people who will be open for applications will come from this area, but there's probably not many trained dealers and casino personnel. Will there be training enough so that the people can actually get the jobs as opposed to having first access to it, not be able to get it, and then other people get them?
I like playing baseball, and I appreciate the soft pitch you gave me. The answer,
Thank you. Sorry.
The answer is yes. We are in negotiations right now with Bronx Community College to collaborate on a trade operation. Dealers, on the average, are 6 to 12 week courses in dealer training, which we pay for, and we go put you through those courses. You pass that, you get licensed, you get employed. There is a shortage in all casinos of dealers right now. It's a tough job. You're on your feet a long time. We have breaks, but it's a tough job. But again, we will provide the training through these dealer schools in the community.
Does anyone else have a question? Just raise your hand. We'll bring them. Abby? Here you are. Go right ahead.
Yes, my daughter here goes to Monsignor Stanley, so I'm happy to hear that traffic is being looked at, because it is a nightmare over there.
Absolutely.
So is there any talks of, also improving, MTA transportation? Because I think her biggest issue is the traffic coming out of Queens into the Bronx.
Correct.
That's what kind of makes things crazy.
Thank you, Abby.
Absolutely, we heard that. I should have made that in the initial presentation. Part of the traffic improvements are 2 bus stops. Lines to be designated yet by the MTA, but 2 bus stops along the route from Monsignor Stanley to the site. So that's what we'll have in addition to, again, we will be running service, shuttle services, but we'll have 2 public bus stops, MTA bus stops.
Yes. Stephen, go right ahead.
Hi, I have 2 questions. The 15 acres that's going to be used, that 15 acres is going to be, the new 15 acres will be designated as park area?
No.
And that was my first question.
Okay.
And the second question is, of the 3 companies that are going to be selected from the 11 proposed, are these 3 proposals going to be all being built at the same time?
Let me do the first question first. First of all, I neglected to say that when we are removing the parking lot area from the current place, apart from the current golf course, which is a concrete pad, we are building a 4,600 parking garage there. It was shown in one of the pictures. I want to bring it back. Yeah, go back. That's back to one before. That's part of our garage there, which is, again, green roof and all that. That is, and again, consistent with the ferry construct, we are providing free parking 24/7 to the community. Not necessarily, you do not have to go into the facility, use the golf course, use any of the amenities. It'll be free parking 24/7 for the community. And so that's to replace the pad of 220 similar spots that will be taken for the construction. We will be buying, Bally's will own that 15.7 acres. That's the $100 million that we're paying for to buy it.
So in other words, it's designated as parkland right now, even though it's concrete, it's designated as parkland. For us to be able to take it over, we'd have to take that 15.7 acres of parkland, even though it's concrete, and replace it with actual parkland somewhere else. There's a turn of phrase that you love to use, Stanley.
We're replacing concrete, grass for concrete. And I'll tell you, we have options along those lines. Bally's does. For 2 sites on City Island, one on Marine Street, and I forget the other one, to potentially purchase to create parkland out of that and turn it over to the Parks Department. So, we are very green oriented, and that's what we want to believe in. So, we hopefully will get the license, yes.
Paige.
You had a second question.
Oh, yes.
Did we answer both your questions, Steve?
On the second one, are all 3?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yes.
The governor will designate all 3, and the same determination at the end of December, beginning of January.
Now, conventional wisdom is that the 2 existing racinos, we don't know for a fact, but what everyone sort of says or assumes is that those 2 racinos, since they already have gaming operations at those facilities, that they'll get 2 of the 3 licenses. And
That's Yonkers and
Yonkers
Aqueduct?
and Aqueduct, yes.
Okay.
And for those 2, they could start moving table games in right away. And, so all of that construction, now, each of them have plans to expand their facilities, but that'll happen over time, and they can operate right away versus ours, should we get selected, will be in construction.
So at the present time, it's Yonkers and where else?
Aqueduct, in southeast Queens.
Yeah, my question, I think is related to that,
We'll come to
which
you
is,
after.
of the other sites, how much, what's the size of this compared to the other ones? And
Sure.
how much destruction or parkland gets, has to be traded? If that's the right word.
I'll give you examples, what they say, from the sublime to the ridiculous. One of the sites in Manhattan is Saks Fifth Avenue. The upper 2 stories of Saks Fifth Avenue are storage right now. So they say, the owners, which is a Toronto company that owns the Saks, so we'll put a casino on the top 2 stories for the high rollers.
Okay.
Okay?
And the church across the street, what do they say?
Everybody, exactly, in Manhattan is opposed it, from the borough president down to the local elected officials. If you take the East River Drive, and you see that big hole in the ground on right north of the UN, that's owned by Soloviv, the Soloviv family. That's one of the sites that they want to put. That's insane. It's insane. The government police uses that site for mobilization during all UN meetings. How are they going to do a casino there? I don't know. And again, 70% of the application valuation is based upon economic improvement, economic need. Manhattan doesn't need any stimulus. The Bronx does, and other sites do. Now, in terms of your specific question relating to parkland, Steve Cohen wants to alienate all that parkland adjacent to City Field. Their senator, Jessica Ramos, is vehemently opposed to that, and up to this point will not vote for or even introduce the bill in the state Senate. So we'll see what happens.
Ours and Cohen's are unique in that there's a little bit of parkland related and a little bit of parkland at Thor, at Coney Island. But in terms of a large acreage of quote-unquote parkland, ours and Cohen's are unique. His parking lot by City Field is like our facility, designated right now as parkland. So if he is able to bid on his project, he has to take everything that he's building on and replace the parkland elsewhere. And so our 2 are unique. In lieu of replacement parkland, the other bidders are going to offer some community benefits, though the specifics haven't been negotiated yet as such.
You know, one of the other beautiful things about this site, and of course I'm an advocate, is I like to think of our site being on an island. We have 4 corners. One side is the river, one part is the Hutchinson River Parkway. The other corner of it is the St. Raymond Cemetery. So no, we're not disturbing our neighbors. I mean, we're just by ourselves in this location. And again, no access through the community. One of the other things I need to mention, I did mention it before, is we negotiated with the 4-5 precinct at the request of, again, the Frogs Neck community to build a police substation on our site. We are not going to take personnel from the existing precinct. We know how short they are in personnel, but we have commitments from City Hall that if we build it, they will provide the additional personnel. It'll be, again, not to protect our site, but to protect, to walk around Frogs Neck to make sure no drug dealing and any of the other nefarious activities occur. We don't believe it's going to happen, but again, the community requested that. We will build it at our expense.
We'll have another question over here.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sorry.
I'm not sure I understood. Did you say that the Yonkers sites are already in process?
No.
No, the Yonkers,
So the question that I have is like, are there 3 sites really possible or only 1?
3 sites. The government doesn't have to designate Yonkers as one of the new casino sites. They will apply. Their application will be evaluated just like ours will. But there will be 3 new ones, and there are 11 bidders Yonkers will be one of the bidders.
There's Yonkers and then there's another in Yonkers?
There's one in Aqueduct.
Aqueduct, which is
Southeast
Yonkers, isn't
No,
it?
Southeast Queens. There's a street in Yonkers named Aqueduct. I think that's the
Oh, okay.
misunderstanding.
Yeah, but again, they are running what's called a racino, the electronic games, but they want a full casino license to actually have the regular games, the hand games, you know, where you
Alright,
touch
so
the
then my
cards.
next question, you cleared that up, because I'm thinking like, is there one or is there three? I'm looking at the odds. So my next question is, where does Vanessa Gibson fall on so far on this situation?
I don't speak for elected officials, but I will say the following. The borough president and her staff have been extremely cooperative in all our land use endeavors. We have to change mapping, we have to file certain documents with the city planning department. They have been extraordinarily collaborative in that regard. And again, when we get through with the community board vote, which will be March 20th, it then goes to the borough president for her review as part of the ULURP process. I will never ever say how an elected official intends to vote until they vote. But again, her staff's been extremely collaborative.
Does that answer your
Collaborative is
question?
an interesting word.
Okay. Does anyone else?
English, by the way, is not my first
All right,
language.
We'll
either,
come
so I
around
learned.
here. David? Go ahead.
What reassurance can you give the community that what happened in Atlantic City is not going to happen there? And where is Bally financially getting the money to do this?
Sure. Very good.
Oh, yeah.
What happened in
Sorry.
Atlantic City? I'm not, other than-
Just the general condition of Atlantic City.
Just
I think that.
Bally is also financially.
I'll do that question too. We all agree, and he's going to fire me. The senior vice president told me I should never mention the word Atlantic City because it's such a bad operation across the board there. We cannot afford to invest in this project $3 billion and allow it to go to rot. We can't do it, we won't do it, and it's a shame how Atlantic City in general has turned into what it is. But that's not what this is about here. The investment is going to be significant. Bally's has the financial resources. We have just opened a casino in Chicago, temporary. We won the only license there. We opened the temporary casino about a year ago, and we are building out the full casino now. As we speak, our leadership is actually abroad and looking at other venture opportunities. We have commitments from our lenders, if we prevail on this license, to finance the entire construction and operation. And again, if you are designated as the licensee in December or January coming up, the first thing you have to do within 60 days is make a deposit with the state of New York in the amount of $500 million. We have our resources to do that. So, in fact, the governor of the state of New York has placed in her proposed budget for not this year, but for the next budget, $1.5 billion, 500 million times 3, anticipating the 3 licensees' contribution of that amount of money as a requirement.
Can I just one word on Atlantic City first? And I know I'm not supposed to say that.
The A word.
The A word. The A word. So I think that the state, even though there are 11 applicants, the state I think was prudent in making the decision that they were only going to grant 3 licenses. And one of the reasons why the A word is what it is today is because of what many gaming analysts believe is oversaturation. There's too much supply and not enough demand.
And another word, if I throw in the C word, corruption. Atlantic City is one of the most corrupt
And the
venues.
key word, Trump.
All right, we'll accept that. We bought our thing from him, so we're happy.
So,
Took him out of it.
so right now in Atlantic City, depending on how you count, there's anywhere between 5 to 7 resorts, and that city, every single year, on average, will get 27 million visitors to come to, visit the casinos. The reason why the 3 licenses here in New York are so sought after, and the reason why you've got people lining up and spending millions and millions of dollars to try to get one of these licenses, to give the state $500 million and pay tax rates that are, in some cases, depending on who you believe, 5, 6, 7, 10 times what Atlantic City's paying, is because just in the tri-state area, just in the New York metropolitan statistical area alone, there's 27 people who live here. And so the state is very bullish, and as is every single casino, every single bank, every single hedge fund, everyone that can afford to bid down here wants to bid down here, because the likelihood that this isn't, in everyone's estimation, going to be the most profitable, the 3 most profitable casinos in the country is, it's a very safe bet. Right now, Aqueduct, which is not a full-service casino, it's just slots or video lottery terminals, and the racetrack, is the most profitable casino in the United States of America. Right now.
More than even anything
In Las Vegas, that's right. And not the most profitable because it's taxed at a significantly higher rate. It generates the most revenue of any casino in the country. That's why everyone is falling all over themselves, salivating to try to get a license here in New York City, because there really isn't between the people who live here and the infrastructure and the transportation, there's no other market like it.
So people lose the most money at Aqueduct, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the community members lose the most money.
It's gotta be
there.
a
I mean, in compared to other places in the country, is what you're saying.
I mean,
that is certainly one way of looking at it. There are more people that visit that facility than anywhere else in the country, is another way to say it.
Where are the primary visitors from? The community or from elsewhere?
So, in terms of, I'm not sure, I don't work for Aqueduct. You'd have to ask them, but that I'm not certain of.
David had a question?
Yeah, just regarding,
We gotta get you on the thing, man.
oh, sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Who are you?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, we get you on this thing.
Because I know that the green space now, right, the park space
Right.
is in the golf course. So public doesn't really have access to that anyway, correct?
They do, they don't use
They
it.
don't use it.
Correct.
My thought, and then the only other that changes is going to be to the street, right? And the circle, right, the ring. Any changes to the park, Ferry Point Park itself?
Yes.
And would the public lose anything of that space?
To the contrary, Parks Department has given us a list of close to $400 million worth of projects that they want substantially, many of them are in Ferry Point Park. They've told us they want us to improve the soccer fields, the the control stations, everything around there. We're going over that list with them right now. In addition to the $100 million that we will spend, we want to extend our license or lease of the golf course. And the cost of doing that is above and beyond the 100. It's overwhelming improvements to Ferry Point Park.
Okay. Anyone? Lee? Sure. Does anyone else not ask? Okay, Kevin, we'll go to you, then we'll go to Lee. Has anyone else not asked a question? Because we're going to prioritize those questions first. Okay, Lee, you'll be next.
Thank you, it's Kevin. Not to put the carriage before the horse, because I'm still stuck on the value of the 15.7 acres being at $100 million, where that will be spent, how that will be spent down the road. But to put the carriage before the horse, the ring will have larger access to the site. But while construction is going on, and when construction is complete, there's an access road that takes you to the, what I call Ferry Point Park East, which is the concave, right? There's a roadway that goes back there. Will that be part of any construction?
Yes.
Be blocked off during that? And if I can follow up, because I have the mic, I'll pass the mic on.
Sure.
So I'm concerned about that road and the access to it 24/7 with construction being done and post-construction with this operation getting carried before the horse. gets built, okay? And the second is the addition of the bridge just, I guess, south of Lafayette Avenue that you want to build across, right? A little shortcut, let's call it, right? Where you would, hey, listen, people that know me are going to wonder why I'm talking about car traffic, but you would need to kind of block off a left lane to make that nice quick left to go over the new bridge, as opposed to somebody going to the light, waiting for the light and making a left over, right? And then when you get over the bridge and you're on the south side of that service road now, that's almost in front of the entrance to the shopping center, which always has a queue of cars backed up trying to make the right-hand turn. And the left lane of those two lanes is usually, you can't get by with two lanes, and you'd be coming out on that bridge right about there. I guess I'm not really asking a question there, but I'm showing a concern about the bridge, if that's good enough. But I did have a question about the access to the park.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
I will say I appreciate all the questions because they should have been the answers in my original presentation. But certain things I left out and I appreciate and added. Yes, that road is going to be widened to 60 feet wide, which it is not now, in accordance with the current standards of DOT, to make that access even much more viable. And again, re-signaling and of the lights and orchestration of that, both on the existing overpass as well as the new overpass, so everything will be in sequence. And the traffic engineers that we've hired, working with city and state DOT, have actually come to a very specific analysis for that.
Lee, it's all you.
Okay, Chris, yeah. So, I have 3 questions. The first is, how do you come up with that $100 million? How is that decided? Seems low to me. Second is, who makes up the governor's committee? Who's in that committee? Who makes that decision? And the third is, what enforces that all these things happen that you guys have promised to do?
Fair enough. One great thing. Okay, with respect to, with the first question again, please?
100 million.
100 million. We've hired a real estate firm called CBRE. They're a very fancy schmancy, well-known real estate valuator. They did a very deep study, 90-some-odd page study. They came to the conclusion it was approximately 98.4 million. We'll call it 100 million. But we turned that report over to the city Department of Citywide Administrative Services, the people who run the city's real estate. They're conducting their own survey under their jurisdiction with their experts. So that's why I'm only able to say we believe it's in the ballpark of 100. It could be more. It's certainly not going to be less. That's item number 1. Item number 2, the governor's committee is 4 people on the site selection board, 4 non-governmental people. I can get you their names if you want to know their names, but they are designated by the Racing and Wagering Board, and they are the decision makers on all the applications. And the third question?
What enforces that all?
Oh, what enforces? Written contracts. Absolute written contracts. So as an example, for the $100 million, I'm reviewing a contract right now that obligates us to put the money in escrow, designate the specific sites for the park improvements in that contract, that will be, and how much money will be allocated. Those particular designations haven't been made because the elected officials and community board haven't met yet to discuss that, but it'll all be by a written agreement, enforceable.
Enforceable by who?
By the state of New York.
By the controller?
By the state of New York.
Probably the governor.
By the governor and attorney general.
Stanley, if I could, just so everyone understands, just obviously this is a community where we care about a lot of different things. A chief concern a lot of people have here is the environment. Obviously that site has been the site of methane, it's a former dump. So I guess, what environmental protections are Bally's, what have they taken already and what are they going to take into the future to make sure that there's no sort of contamination for the greater Throgs Neck area? or into the waterway, which would affect us all.
Sure. The golf course was built with what's called a 360, Part 360 permit issued by the Department of Environmental Conservation. As a result of that permit and the construction of the golf course, there are weekly methane tests going on at the golf course since its construction, with the reports sent to DEC. Since the construction of the golf course and the reports that are being issued, there's been not one violation or determination that the methane exposure has been anything inappropriate. We have to amend the 360 permit to get authority to build. We are filing those applications with DEC. They're doing a very detailed review of what the construction practices will be and what impact it'll have. And again, I should have said this during the beginning. We are not removing dirt from the golf course or from that area. We are going to platform, we're going to put in piles and build the facility on the platform that we build. So we will have the most minimal disruption of the underground.
So no excavation.
No excavation except for the piles that the platform will sit on.
Okay.
And so it's like you're building a slab on grade house. You don't have a basement. None of that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Does anyone else have a question for our guest? Paige, hold on.
I would never, by the way, say, trust me, don't worry, we're going to fulfill our commitments. I never would try that.
Wegmans
And you know where I live.
Wegmans and Costco's, I believe, have refused to give up their DEI hiring policies. What's Bally's position on this? Diversity, equity, and inclusion, and civil rights issues as well.
Bally's has one of the most vigorous DEI policies of any corporation in the United States. Our 6-member board of directors, four of the 6 members are people of color. It's the easiest term to heart. Our general counsel is an African-American woman who lives now in Maryland, who was born on Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx. And, you know, again, our chairman of our board was born in Korea. He came here at 4 years old, went to Stuyvesant High School, lives here still in the city of New York. He's the only applicant of all the 11 casinos who's a New York City resident. We have an incredible DEI policy in Chicago. Let me just give you one example. In Chicago, we had a goal of 30% people, of minority workers. We hired 50%. Again, we will stake our reputation against anyone in that area.
John?
Please.
Yeah, my question is just about sound mitigation. You know, being on the water, sound carries, so what's your plans for that?
That's the one question I don't have the answer to. But I am telling you that we have that in our we have a chapter on that in our DEIS, and we can point you to it, and I'll get that to you. But it's been undertaken as one of the chapters in the documents we filed with city planning. So,
Stephen,
Yes.
coming for you. Oh, sorry, do you have something you
No,
want to say?
no, just make sure to get your contact information before we leave.
What has the feedback been from the residents of Throgs Neck when you make your presentation to them?
he's in charge of all the feed. He's Mr. Feedback.
And like, is it both way positive and negative?
Yeah.
Yes.
Generally speaking,
So what I'll say is, and do we have any of that information here, Stanley? I think we should have. I think we should have, but we've had canvassers go through, and we pay canvassers to knock on doors in the Throgs Neck area, in Senator Fernandez's entire Senate district, and in the council members' city council district, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. The last round, I think we've gotten over, at this point, 5,000 signatures on pledge cards that are supportive of the project, and we're getting on the doors a positivity rate of over 80%. So that all of that, unfortunately, we don't have that at our fingertips right now. But all of that is going to be all the results of all the canvassing community outreach that we've done will be made public very soon. But overwhelmingly, when people learn about the project, they've been supportive of it.
We've gone from one end of the district to the other. I mean, from Throgs Neck houses to the knocking on the residential doors to the community-based organizations. We've had very positive feedback from the various PTAs, from the Throgs Neck bid, from the Westchester Square bid, from the Mount Senior Scanlon, from everybody. We met with anybody and explained this to them. Sure, there are those who oppose it. We understand that and their concern. But again, overwhelming percentage are supportive.
And there's going to be a number of public hearings, so you can feel free to attend those, and people will come out to those. We know that. Thank you.
No problem. Does anyone else? Oh, sorry.
I would just like to know, how have you, what kind of a lobbying program have you put together in terms of, or will you put together in terms of competing with something like Hudson Yards, for example, which will have a very, very professional, strong lobbying component to their bid for one of these things, and thank you.
Absolutely.
You're looking at two of us. But we have a much broader team from the community, from outside the community, from labor, from former elected officials, people who are being very supportive of us. Again, the lobbying effort is going to be diminished once we file that application. Under the laws, we can't lobby once the application is filed. But we believe we have a very important story to tell. And our story is a positive one. Our location is the best. The investment with labor is the best. The green and environmental component of our project, we believe, beats anybody else's. The employment for a small site versus what Steve Cohn wants to do at City Field, which is huge. With the Hudson Yards is huge. Big towers. We believe ours is a compact project that fits an integrated resort for the Bronx. We have a better story to tell, and we are trying to tell that story by going to meetings such as these.
And just to build on that for a quick second, yeah, Stanley came to us, I want to say in October or September. He presented to our board, representatives from our board. We all felt that it was important not to play gatekeepers with this project, to invite them. They wanted to come, to have a meeting like this where anyone can answer any question. Anyone can ask any question they have. People here have asked multiple questions. I'm not telling you to be for it, I'm not telling you to be against it. But we felt it was important for this organization to have this type of a forum where you get to ask your questions. No filter, everything's recorded, everybody's accountable. But as long as you can answer your question respectfully, we'll give you the microphone. So does anyone else have any other question before we close out?
One more.
Yes.
Here, just regarding, because I know, look, grew up in this area my whole life also. I worked at Marina Del Rey as a kid, like every other kid in Throgs Neck, right? Well, they have the same opportunities at Bally's, right? You're talking about internships. Like in my previous life, I was a chef. So I understand the idea of what a culinary program could do for opportunities. So is there any thought of being able to, somehow integrate some internships or anything like that with some of the schools around here?
The answer is absolutely yes. We're not even waiting for the application to be filed. Right now we have a golf course. So we've gone to Preston, we've gone to other schools in the community. We're giving jobs and internships, golf training to the kids in the school, hire them as caddies during the summer. That's what we have available now. Again, as part of the training we will be doing, it will be both, not just in casino betting, but in culinary arts. We are collaborating with local restaurants in Throgs Neck on Tremont Avenue. They're being part of our opportunities. During the past Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday season, we've gone out and given gift cards to some of the poorer people in our community, Throgs Neck houses and others, where it would be easy. Here's a gift card for $25, and go to Starbucks or go to BJ's or go. No, we've gone to the local restaurants and given them the cards for their restaurants. So in about 4 or 5 different restaurants and community bodegas and other stores, we've given about 15. How do you know that? How much?
$25,000.
$25,000 worth of expenditures, which is a game changer to many of these businesses. And again, the cards are $25 each.
$25 each.
And we gave out hundreds of them.
Will that continue even after you get the license and build, the whole thing, right? Will that stuff continue?
I will give you the following numbers. Right now, the revenue generated by the golf course per annum is $10 million. Not making money. It breaks even because of the money we have to pay the parks department and maintenance of the golf course. It's $10 million a year. We believe in the first year of operations that the casino, hotel, and spa will engender $1 billion. B with a billion. We intend to share a substantial amount of those revenues with the community. I just talked about the cost of exchange for the property. I'm not talking about community benefits agreements, things we can do with the PTAs and with other different groups. That you'll hear from us later on that, but we certainly are going to do that, and with an enforceable agreement.
And there will be a community benefits agreement?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Stan.
Jeff.
Okay. All right. And again, everybody, right now, some people who may be watching online or people who just got in, people wonder how this impacts City Island right now. Chances are, if you live here, you're going to the Target over in Throgs Neck, so this is something that's probably on your radar. But if this project comes to be, there are a lot of different concerns here. One, the police, how that will be addressed. That's something we've all got to look out for. Number 2, the impact on Throgs Neck, which was a question that you asked, Stephen. There are going to be public meetings. We'll all have to take that into consideration. We don't know that yet. I know they've been doing canvassing. You have other groups that are involved. You're getting a diversified opinion. The environment will be something we'll all be looking out for. The parks improvements might impact City Island. It may not. We don't know unless this all gets approved. And if it doesn't, then nothing will happen. And then finally is employment. If I'm not mistaken, if this is approved, you guys, the Bally's will be one of the top employers in the borough. So things will change this is a dramatic impact on the borough should it be improved. I'm not saying positive or negative. I'm just saying it's undeniable. It's going to have an impact.
Let me say one more word.
Yeah.
If I leave you with one word, transparency. We cannot succeed if we hide anything from the community where we want to be hosted by. It doesn't work. We don't need to be thought of as a bad actor. So what we're saying, hold our feet to the fire. Hold our feet to commit, not just the words we say, but the deeds we perform. I live at 481 King Avenue. I'm not leaving any place. I'm going to be here. I'm only one of the lobbyists, one of the representatives of the institution. But we want to make it work, and I think it's a wonderful thing for the Bronx. There are going to be 3. Why not this one? That's all I ask. Thank you all for your attention. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you, Jason.
You guys didn't talk about any of the entertainment the entertainment that may be coming and stuff like that as well, right? You're gonna have a whole arena. Right?
Yeah, we, again, and I'm being a little bit cute by half. I'm tired of going to the Marina Del Rey and the other places. We're going to have an opportunity to have a theater with music and entertainment for graduations, for weddings, for convention events. It'll be not just 2,000 seats, it'll break it down if you have smaller events. We intend to do that, intend to share that space with community-based organizations, such as yours, such as City Island Rising can come there and use it. So that's what we want to do.
Okay. We've got 2 more questions, and then we'll move on to other stuff. If that's okay with everybody?
That's not a question.
Okay.
It's a comment.
Comments fine too.
So for us, as community advocates, and this is not a question to you, I'm just saying that this will be an event which will increase gentrification in the Bronx. And gentrification in the Bronx will undoubtedly cause dislocation for some people who are here already. So that's something we as a group have to keep in mind, because gentrification displaces people, and we have to be there to defend the community, to keep them from being displaced during that inevitable process.
I would disagree that gentrification means displacement. It means, in this instance, people who live here, who work at this casino, may be earning a larger income. That real estate that they own, private homes, closer to the site in Frog's Neck, the value of their homes will go up. We've done that study. But it does not mean people are being displaced, or that, you know, we're going to be building new and unintended developments.
I moved here from Williamsburg, and let me tell you, that's the process that happens.
Okay. All right.
People do benefit, but the neighborhood totally changes.
Okay, let's just to read up. Appreciate the comment, and again, this is open space. Everyone gets a chance to say what they're going to say. We're going to go to Jeff. Okay, and we have one online comment which Louisa's going to read out.
All right, it's from Joshua.
Sure.
Will there be inside or outside pools and community center for programs for teens, for cooking, dancing, other activities for the community? Maybe free golfing through the Parks Department for the youth.
Thank you, Joshua.
We are certainly in negotiations with Parks about reducing what I consider to be exceptional charges for the use of the golf course now. We certainly have negotiated already, since we've been there, a reduction of the price for Bronx residents. We're going to continue in that effort. The spa, we're having a spa, so that may be the equivalent of a pool, but it's a spa that we are part of our development site. I know, swimming is different, I know. I don't know if the finishing touches on the design have been made yet.
Might be something for the community benefits agreement.
Yes.
If it gets that far.
Jeff, you sure you want it? Okay. All right, let's give these gentlemen a round of applause just for coming. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jason. Does anyone else have anything unrelated to Bally's for the community that they'd like to discuss?
I
Paige.
did want to talk about skunks, but I think it's too late.
Okay. We will talk offline about that. Just a quick point. Everybody got the newsletter. I put a lot of the happenings of what's going on here in the newsletter. The second speed camera is mentioned in there, some of the road resurfacing, and the cell phone improvement services. So thank you all. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us online if you did. Good night, everybody.